Black women. Recently, I was searching on what part of Africa I plan on visiting in the future, and one of the countries within the continent of Africa that I was researching was South Africa. And there was something very particular about South Africa that caught my attention. It was the community of a particular ethnic racial group of people that are called coloreds. That would be the equivalent of the American version of mixed race people. But in South Africa, they're called coloreds. And for those of you that may not know exactly who the coloreds are, they are a product of European men, mostly Dutch and British and some Irish, and indigenous South African women, Khoisan and Zulu, and other indigenous groups in South Africa. And pretty much over the last several decades, they have formed their own community, their own racial, ethnic identity. They do not identify as being white, and they do not identify as being black. And many of them do not wish to identify or even associate with the blacks, except for their parent. And they have, in some cases, they've had great privilege, more so than the indigenous South Africans, the blacks. And in other cases, they have been sort of pushed out. And there have been rifts between the coloreds and the blacks. And some would argue that the white South Africans use the coloreds to go against the black South Africans. I was thinking about how this is kind of similar to what we can expect in this country. If you remember, not too long ago, I put a video up where the mixed race community here in America were pushing a petition to have their own ethnic racial category on the 2020 census. I want you to understand something, that the 2020 census, it is coming out next year, and it is going to play a very pivotal role in how mixed race people in this country are going to be treated, and what their place in American society is going to be. And I think that we need to prepare ourselves for that. I'm going to go further deep into it, but let me just explain that I think I've mentioned this before. I keep focusing on 2080, because by that time, we should be on our second to third generation of mixed race people in this country. And many of them, unlike in South Africa, where the majority of the coloreds who are the mixed race in South Africa, the majority of them whose black parent is the mother and the white parent is the father, in this country, it's a switch. The majority of the mixed race people in this country, the black parent is the father and the non-black parent is the mother. And so, in this country, we are going to see, unlike in South Africa, where their numbers are still pretty small, in this country, we are going to see a rapid explosion, percentage of mixed race people here in America. And they are going to play a very pertinent, critical role in the political, social, and economical structure of future America. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take care of something. So, I have some very important data, information that will be in the description box. And before you look at the videos, I want you to read the articles. The articles are very, very important. Then look at the videos. I believe in South Africa, the coloreds are a pretty small percentage. They really do sort of, stick within their own. Here in America, it's kind of 50-50. As you can already see, most mixed race women who have black fathers, they tend to continue on and date, marry, and procreate with black men, and mixed race men with black fathers tend to follow in their father's footsteps and date and marry and procreate with non-black women. So those numbers here in this country with the mixed race community is going to rapidly grow. It's going to rapidly expand. And by the year 2080, what I predict is that the mixed race community is going to swallow up the black community. It hasn't happened in South Africa. In South Africa, the whites tend to stick with the whites, and the Africans tend to stick with the Africans, and the colors tend to stick with their own, but they're a very small percentage compared to the whites and to the blacks in South Africa. Here, it's a little bit different. And by the year 2080, I predict, because what's going to happen is when the 2020 census comes out, a lot of people that are mixed race, especially the ones that can pass for white, they are not going to so much, many of them were not going to check black. I have a very strong feeling for that. Many of them are going to check if the box is on there, the 2020. If this petition passes and it gets approved, then you're going to see a checkbox under ethnic category, multicultural or mixed race or biracial. That's going to be on there. Many of them that can pass for white will probably check that box, and they'll check white. So you're going to see a huge, this is what I predict, a huge dip in the black percentage population. Right now, the black percentage population, I believe, according to the information that I have at the link at the bottom, it's 12.5%. So that might drop, because since the last since the last census that came out in 2010, there's been a lot of mixed race children that have been born in this country. And I would probably say that a large percentage of them are the product of black men and non-black women. So what you're going to be seeing over the next 3 decades, and I myself had to do this. I had to just Google what exactly constitutes a decade. I thought it was 10 years, but it's actually 25 to 30 years. So I'm thinking 2080. It's 2019 right now. I'm thinking like 2 to 2.5 decades from now, you're going to see a huge percentage, a big jump of the mixed race community in this country. And for the few blacks that are left in America, and it's going to be very few, trust me, because you're seeing fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer children, black children that are being born products of black men and black women. I mean, that's just going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't reverse it. It's moving forward, and it's moving forward very rapidly. They are going, besides the Asian and the Hispanic community, they are going to be a huge presence in the American population, and they will play a very pivotal, critical role in the political, social, and economical structure of America by 2080. Many of these mixed race people with black fathers. Many of them are going to be our future police officers, lawyers, politicians, lawmakers, judges, and the reason why I say that is because, and I don't like to support this guy, but I was looking at Phil the Advice show. He did a video of a black South African woman that was, she was trying to apply for a job, and a couple of police officers who were colored, they were coloreds, they hassled her, they harassed her, they arrested her, they searched her bag. I mean, they identified, I guess, they don't identify as being white, but they tend to side more with whites, and they do go against blacks. And I was looking at that the way that she was treated, I'm thinking to myself, in this country, it's probably going to be the same way, but worse. And the reason why I say that is because it has been my own empirical observation that in this country, mixed race people with black fathers, they tend to be a little bit more indifferent towards black people. That's what I have seen, and that is what I've experienced. Even though I went to a mostly white school, I did go to school with a lot of people that were mixed race, and I went to college with people that were mixed race. And many of them, the men and the women, really didn't associate too much with black people. They do kind of stick with their own. And a lot of black men that have mixed race children, they do tend to teach their children, from what I can see, they teach their daughters to be a little bit more inclusive with black men and less inclusive with black women. And with their sons, they encourage their sons to, have nothing to do with black women, to focus on following in their father's footsteps. And you can see a very good example of that if you look at, like, for example, like, I always like to use the NBA and the NFL, because to me that's a perfect example of how you can see the switch, the phenotype switch. And I mentioned this before, that by 2080, if you look at the NFL and the NBA, black men up until this point have been known to dominate those sports. But if you look at people like what's his name, Blake Griffith, and the Ball brothers, and all the other ones, those that have children, they have their own mixed race children, and then that generation grows up, and that generation grows up, and so it's what's going to happen is you're going to see a huge percentage of. Basically, what's going to happen is the phenotype of the black community is going to be pretty much changed. It takes about 2 to 3 generations for the phenotype to go from black to white. Now, I have the information at the bottom, but the reason why I'm mentioning this is because the few black people that are going to be left here in this country, because I ain't going to be here, and my grandkids ain't going to be here. I'm not going to be here because I see the shit coming, but they're going to play a very pertinent role in how black people are treated in this country. They really are. Oh shit! It's Saturday morning, and the trash collectors are coming. So forgive me if you hear the noise in the background. I'm going to make this very quick, but if I'm trying to put this in a way that you can understand, if you think black women are treated bad now, the ones that are going to be left here in 2080. It is going to get worse. You're going to see more and more and more and more favoritism within the extension of the black race towards the mixed race people. They're going to make life in this country for black people very difficult. They really are. And that's why I encourage you guys to, try to get your passports and get the fuck out of here, because it's gonna be very uncomfortable to be black in America in 2080. It really is. I see it coming. The black population in America is going to dwindle. And I understand that a lot of black fathers, a lot of them, they want their mixed race kids to identify with being black because, that Hebrew Israelite thing is really kind of being pushed, that you are what your father is. Even if you're pale white, and that doesn't make any sense, but some of them might still check that black box, so it's going to be a deception. Oh, shit. Damn trash collector. I hate this crap. I hate it. But I want you to look at the links at the bottom and leave your comment, because I see what's coming to America. The black community is going to be replaced by the mixed race community, and these people are going to be making decisions on our behalf, and a lot of them are going to be very indifferent towards black people, because what I see coming in the future is that being black is going to be an eyesore, to the mixed race community, and these people are going to really make an effort to follow in their footsteps of their black fathers, to basically breed out the phenotype of the black race. It's happening, and there's nothing you can do to reverse that. It's moving forward. So that's why I say to you guys, if you stay in this country, and for those of you that may be lucky enough to find yourself a black guy and have a black family, your kids and your grandkids are going to suffer tremendously, because if you think racist white teachers are bad in the public school systems, wait till you get the white passing mixed race public school teachers. If you think that the white cops in this country are bad, wait until the mixed race police officers come in. Wait until the mixed race judges and the lawmakers and the politicians and the school teachers and all the other people that are going to have a sense of separation against the black side of who they are. It's coming. If you look at what's happening in South Africa, if you look at the coloreds, if you look at how their life is, that's going to happen here in America. Only it's going to be just polarized. It's going to be magnified. So leave your comments. I'm out.